Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Twisted Word Show, and we have an amazing announcement to make. So, this is the first episode of season 4. Yes, we are starting a new season from this very episode, and we are so very excited for it. And this season is going to bring something very unique and new that we thought we would start sharing from this season. Mariana, please tell us about what's new in this season.
Hi, everybody. Yes, absolutely. So, Yash and I were talking about discussing things that we learn in our own writing, things we come across while we work on a new story, or, while you're busy with something and a new tip you pick up, or, anything interesting like that. So, for this week, we're gonna talk about head hopping in your writing. And how this came about was, everybody keeps saying, oh, don't do head hopping and be careful of head hopping, and only new writers still do that. And I'm like, surely I don't do it. I'm like convinced I don't do this. But then I went and I read up a bit and I'm like, maybe I should check my writing. And believe it or not, I hate to admit I was doing this to a certain degree. So, yes, I've changed a bit of my manuscript because I'm trying to redo what I've written before. And this is one thing that I really focused on to try and fix. So, yes, that was my story for this week.
So, that
So,
is
Yash, will you introduce our points that we can
yes.
discuss?
Exactly. And before we get to the amazing points that we have to discuss today on the topics that Mariana came across through the week, that is how these videos are going to work. Whatever challenges or problems that we encounter over the week in our own writing journey, and how we tackle them and how we solve those problems, or maybe not be able to solve those problems, that is what we are going to share throughout this season in every episode. And hopefully, that will help you guys as well to learn how different writers tackle the problems that they encounter and how their writing progresses and so on. So, well, let's get into the video. And in today's video, our first topic, we've already discussed the topic. The point for that topic is going to be to stay in one character's head. So, Mariana, this sounds pretty obvious because that's the concept of not hopping heads. What do you say about that?
Okay, so I see it like this. If I'm telling you what I experience and what I see and what I do, so from my perspective, I wouldn't know what you were thinking. So I can't say Yash thought blah 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 blah, whatever you were thinking. I can only tell you my perspective. So commit to exploring only the thoughts and feelings of um the person whose point of view you're writing from. Because that person
Unless
can't possibly know what the other person is thinking.
unless Mariana is psychic and Mariana knows everything Yash is thinking about.
I do know a lot.
Okay. So all our viewers, Mariana knows everything.
Yeah, be careful. And I will write it down in my story.
Exactly. Okay. And that takes us to our next point. Even if you have to say all those things that the other person is thinking or doing or saying, you can use different breaks that you have in the story. For example, after a particular scene or after a particular chapter, or you can use like something that I do is I used not really for the perspective of the characters, but more like when a particular scene has ended or a particular thing has ended, and then I want to, within that chapter itself, I want to change it to something that is either happens for after a very long time, or maybe happens not right after what just happened. I use asterisk signs, three asterisk signs, and then I kind of continue that within that chapter. So that can be done. It's so just so there's no confusion, and just so you are more consistent with how you are presenting the work, because the readers don't know everything. They're only going to know whatever they've been fed up to that point, and it's better if they are given all of that information in an organized way and in a pres- better way, because if there's confusion, then, well, you know what the readers are going to say. And then with that, we have Mariana telling us the next point.
Yes, so the next point is to limit your point of view changes. So even if you do it in an orderly manner, don't do it too often because it still becomes overwhelming and too much to follow. And if you have to follow every person's perspective and you have like 10 different perspectives, it's going to be exhausting to read it and to try and keep up with everything. So just limit it. Um, and
And
don't
also comes
switch
down.
too frequently.
Yes, and it
Sorry?
also comes down, I was just adding to what you said, it also comes down to how many main characters you have, because it wouldn't make
Yes,
sense
yes.
for to have the perspective of a character who really doesn't matter in the story, because your main characters are who the story is for, and their perspective matters much more than any other character who is just there for some reason.
Yeah.
Yes, yes,
Yeah, and
Mariana.
that brings us to our next one. So, Yash, your next point, show, don't tell. Do
Yes.
you want
So
to tell us about that?
yes, show, don't tell. So what we can do over here is that, for example, we have two characters and one of the characters is nervous, but the perspective that we are using or we've been talking about is the first character's perspective, but the second character is the one who's feeling nervous. Now we can't drop in and say that he knew that he was nervous, or that character was nervous while you're discussing the first character. You will have to use the way that, for example, you can say that the first character saw that his hands were shaking or that he was sweating or any kind of thing. So he sees
Yes,
the signs and then he just has an interpretation that may or may not be
yes,
true. It's the writer who knows everything, not the character.
exactly. Exactly. Good point.
And then we have Mariana with the next point.
Use third person omniscient carefully. So, if you writing, if your narrator knows everything, still stick to one perspective at a time. Um, yes, your narrator knows, but still don't jump from one to the other. So you can write a couple of sentences from character A's perspective, and then after a clear break, maybe an extra open line or the asterisk, write character B's story or perspective, and then do it like that. But also again, limit your amount of changes that you make. But yeah, so just be careful when you use that. Even if the narrator knows everything, still try and keep it orderly and don't jump from one to the other.
Exactly. And with that, uh, what you can do is actually practice doing those single POVs. What you can do is take the same scene, take the same situation, and then write it out using the perspective of different characters. So the same thing happening from the main character's perspective, happening from the second main character's perspective, and happening from a
Mm.
totally different character who is not even involved, maybe he's a spectator or anything, that will not only allow you to understand your own story better, because you will be literally exploring the different perspectives happening inside the story, but also help you understand what you need to add in the final thing that is going in your manuscript. So you will know
Yeah.
and understand what to add and what to take out. Mariana,
Yes.
next point.
What can you tell us about avoiding assumptions?
Yes. So what you can do is, for example, you can't, just like we discussed in the point that we spoke about earlier, that you can show that the character is seeing the other person as being nervous. Not that he knows, because he can't any just out of the blue know something. Just like Mariana being a psychic knows everything, but we don't. We are not the psychic people. Uh, so just like that, you can't make a character. just know all of a sudden that something is happening unless he's supposed to know that. But uh, he will only have an interpretation, and that interpretation may or may not be right.
Yes, exactly. And our following point, practice, you've actually already spoke on that, but I just wanted to add, you said to practice single point of view writing. Um, and a good idea is to, if you've written something in Yash's point of view, for example, try somebody else's point of view, tell my perspective, the same story, and see where it might need some correction or something you might have missed or left out in the first story or the first draft, I would say, and see what works best, and change it if necessary. So, Yash, um, why is it important? Our next point is read aloud. Why would you think that is important, and what tips can you give us?
Well, absolutely. Uh, as like just like we have discussed it in previous videos as well, when you read your work, you you are able to have a different way you are looking at your own book. As a writer, you are focusing on a particular thing that you are writing, but as a reader, you are flowing of one thing after another, and it's happening faster. So, uh, compared to writing, so it's happening faster. And when you read it, you are able to get in the mind of the reader, like how they are going to see it, and also reading it will reading it aloud, more importantly, will actually give you a perspective and tell you like how does it sound, because if it sounds like not believable enough, then there's a problem. But if it sounds like it's natural, whatever the character is thinking, or whatever is happening to the character, or whatever thing you are telling about the character by the character, if that's going well, then it's all good. But if anything sounds off, then of course it's going to need change, and
Yeah.
reading your own work aloud definitely helps with that. And Mariana, please add a little bit more to that, because we also have very little time left for this video. So let's cover it up.
Yes, just wanted to say it's amazing how quickly you pick up on mistakes when you hear it. You can even get an
Yes,
app to read it back to you on your phone or on the computer instead of reading it yourself, because you might miss it if
absolutely.
you yourself read it. But if you hear it in a different voice, you actually pick up on things. So, yeah, that's all I actually think I would add to that.
Excellent. And I hope that our readers and viewers and writers, why would readers watch writing videos? Maybe they can. Uh, so I hope you all like this video. It was the very first video of our new season, and I hope you're going to like this season, because this is where we will be sharing our own journey. And hopefully by the end of this season, we will have become better writers and helped you in making yourself better at the things that we discuss as well.
Yes, absolutely. And just
Thank you
on that note, Yash, I'm sure readers can also watch because they want to see if we're doing it right, listening to our own advice. See, then they read our stories and they can see if we listen.
exactly. Well, with that note, I hope to see you all. We hope to see you all in the next video. Thank you very much for
Yes.
joining.
Thank
Bye
you,
bye.
everyone. Bye.